The first $10,000 is probably the hardest money you'll ever make. Not because $10,000 is a huge amount of money, but because when you're starting from zero, your money isn't working for you yet. Every unexpected bill can wipe out months of progress. Every raise can disappear into a more expensive lifestyle. And every small mistake feels bigger when you have no financial cushion. But once you cross that first $10,000, something changes. And if you're currently at $0, $1,000, or even $5,000, what I'm about to show you could completely change the way you think about reaching that first milestone. Let's start with the biggest mistake. Mistake 1. Thinking you can invest your way to $10,000. You have $500. You want $10,000. So you start looking for the investment that can turn that $500 into a fortune. You watch stock market videos. You search for the next big company. You look at cryptocurrency. You start calculating what would happen if you could make 20%, 30%, or even 100% returns. And suddenly, you're thinking like an investor before you've built any capital to invest. Here's the problem. Small amounts of money don't produce large amounts of money quickly, even when the percentage return sounds impressive. Imagine, purely as an illustration, you invest $500 and somehow earn 10%. That's only $50. Invest $5,000 at 10%. That's $500. But $100,000 at 10%. Now you're talking about $10,000. See the difference? The percentage didn't change. The capital changed. That's why your first $10,000 is usually less about finding the perfect investment and more about building the capital that eventually gives investing something meaningful to work with. Your biggest wealth-building asset at this stage isn't your investment portfolio. It's your income-producing ability, your skills, your business, your ability to save consistently. Because when you're starting with very little capital, increasing the amount of money you can put into the system often matters far more than trying to squeeze extraordinary returns out of a tiny account. Don't obsess over making your first $500 grow like $500,000. First, learn how to build capital. Then learn how to make that capital work. Mistake 2. Letting your lifestyle grow with your income. Now imagine you finally get the raise you've been waiting for. Your income increases by $500 a month. You feel like you've finally made progress. So you upgrade your phone. You eat out more. You subscribe to another service. Maybe you finance a nicer car. And after a few months, you look at your bank account. Nothing has changed. This is called lifestyle inflation. And it's one of the quietest wealth killers because it doesn't feel like you're doing anything wrong. You're not necessarily wasting money. You're just spending slightly more because you're earning slightly more. Someone earning $3,000 might spend $2,700 and save $300. Then they get promoted to $3,500. But instead of continuing to save $300 and increasing their savings, their spending rises to $3,200. Now they're still saving only $300. Their income increased. Their lifestyle increased. But their wealth didn't. And this is where many people get trapped. Every time their income rises, their definition of normal rises with it. The apartment gets bigger. The car gets better. The restaurants get more expensive. The holidays become more luxurious. And suddenly, earning more doesn't mean becoming wealthier. But imagine doing something different. You receive that same $500 raise. Instead of allowing the entire amount to disappear into your lifestyle, you direct $300 toward your financial goals. Now you're not just earning more. You're converting income into capital. That's how your first $10,000 starts becoming realistic. When your income increases, don't immediately ask, "What can I afford now?" Ask, "How much wealth can I build with this increase?" Mistake 3. Having no emergency buffer. Here's a situation almost everyone can understand. You've finally saved $2,000. You're proud of yourself. For the first time, there's money sitting in your account that isn't already committed to rent, food, or bills. You feel like you're finally getting ahead. Then, your car breaks down. The repair costs $900. Suddenly, $2,000 becomes $1,100. Then your phone breaks. Another $300. Now you're at $800. Then something else happens, and suddenly you're back near zero. This is why building wealth without an emergency buffer can feel like climbing a hill with someone constantly pushing you backwards. It's not that you're incapable of saving. It's that every unexpected expense destroys your progress. And this creates a dangerous cycle. You save. An emergency happens. You spend the savings. You start again. Another emergency happens. You start again. Eventually, you become frustrated and think, I'll never get ahead. But the problem isn't necessarily your ability to save. The problem is that you haven't built enough financial protection around your savings. Your first $10,000 shouldn't just be a number you're chasing. Part of the journey is creating enough breathing room that one unexpected expense doesn't completely reset your progress. Because money doesn't only buy things. Money buys options. When you have no savings, an emergency becomes a crisis. When you have a buffer, the same emergency becomes an inconvenience. That's a massive difference. Before you focus entirely on growing wealth, build enough financial breathing room to protect your progress. Mistake 4. Ignoring the small money leaks. Most people don't lose their first $10,000 in one dramatic moment. They lose it quietly. $5 here, $20 somewhere else, a subscription you forgot about, food delivery because you're tired, a coffee you didn't plan to buy, an impulse purchase because it was only $30. Individually, none of these seem important. That's exactly why they're dangerous. Imagine spending an extra $10 every day. That's approximately $3,650 a year. Or maybe your smaller leaks add up to $200 every month. That's $2,400 a year. Over 4 years, that's $9,600. Almost your entire first $10,000. And here's the uncomfortable part. You may not even remember what most of that money bought. That's why one of the simplest financial exercises you can do is track every purchase for 30 days. Not just the big ones. Everything. Then divide your spending into 3 categories. Needs, wants, waste. And don't misunderstand this. The goal isn't to eliminate every enjoyable thing from your life. The goal is to discover where your money is disappearing without creating meaningful value for you. Because if you don't control small amounts of money, it's difficult to control large amounts. You don't need to become obsessed with every $2 purchase. But you need to know where your money is going. Find the leaks before trying to fill the bucket. Mistake 5. Only trying to cut expenses. You realize you're spending too much. So you start cutting. Cancel the subscription. Stop eating out. Buy cheaper clothes. Reduce entertainment. Cut another $20. Then another $30. And yes, controlling unnecessary spending is important. But there's a limit. You can only reduce your expenses so far. Eventually, you hit a floor. You still need somewhere to live. You still need food. You still need transportation. You still have bills. But your earning potential doesn't have the same limitation. Let's say you've managed to cut your expenses by $200 a month. That's useful. That's $2,400 a year. But imagine you develop a valuable skill that allows you to earn an additional $500 per month. That's $6,000 a year. Now imagine combining both. $200 saved, plus $500 earned. That's $700 of additional financial capacity every month. This is why the smartest approach isn't, how can I spend nothing? It's, how can I control spending while increasing my ability to earn? Maybe that's learning sales, coding, video editing, digital marketing, a trade, consulting, freelancing, whatever matches your situation and abilities. The goal is to make yourself more economically valuable. Because there is a ceiling to cutting expenses, there is much more room to increase your income. Don't choose between saving and earning. Control your expenses while building your earning power. Mistake 6. Using debt to look wealthy. This mistake is especially dangerous because it can make you feel successful, while moving you further away from financial freedom. Imagine 2 people. Person A drives an expensive car, designer clothes, luxury apartment, the latest phone. From the outside, they look wealthy. Person B drives an ordinary car, lives below their means, has cash reserves, invests consistently, and keeps their debt under control. From the outside, person B might look less successful. But financially, the picture could be completely different. This is the difference between looking wealthy and being wealthy. Consider a $400 monthly car payment. That sounds manageable, but over 1 year, that's $4,800. And the payment isn't the entire cost. There's insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, registration, and potentially interest. The problem isn't that expensive things are automatically bad. The problem is buying expensive things before your financial foundation can support them. Because debt can turn future income into today's lifestyle. You spend tomorrow's money today, and then tomorrow arrives, and your income is already spoken for. That's how people with decent salaries can still feel broke. Their money arrives, but immediately leaves. Before asking, can I afford the monthly payment? Ask, can my overall financial situation comfortably afford the entire cost? Because looking rich isn't the goal. Having financial freedom is. Mistake 7. Waiting for the perfect time to start. This mistake looks productive. You're researching, watching videos, comparing apps, looking for the perfect investment, waiting for the market to drop, waiting for your next promotion, waiting until you earn more, waiting until life becomes less expensive. And somehow, months pass, then years. You're still planning, but you're not building. The truth is, your first $10,000 probably won't come from one perfect financial decision. It will come from hundreds of ordinary ones. Saving $50, then $100, then $200, avoiding an unnecessary purchase, taking extra work, learning a valuable skill, negotiating your salary, tracking your spending, doing it again next month. And again. This is why consistency beats financial perfection. You don't need the perfect budget. You don't need the perfect investment. You don't need the perfect side hustle. You need a system you can actually follow. Because a mediocre plan executed for 2 years can beat an incredible plan you never start. Stop waiting for the perfect financial moment. Start with what you can control today. Mistake 8. Thinking $10,000 is the finish line. And finally, the biggest mistake of all. Thinking that $10,000 is the destination. It isn't. It's a checkpoint. Because once you reach your first $10,000, you've learned something much more valuable than how to save money. You've proven that you can build capital. You've learned how to control your lifestyle. You've learned how to handle unexpected expenses. You've learned how to increase your income. You've learned how to say no to things that don't move you forward. And most importantly, you've changed your relationship with money. Imagine going from $0 right pointing arrow $1,000 right pointing arrow $5,000 right pointing arrow $10,000. At first, every dollar matters. Every setback hurts. Progress feels painfully slow. But somewhere along the way, something changes. You stop seeing money only as something you spend. You start seeing it as something you can build. And that's when the next milestones become possible. $25,000, $50,000. $100,000, and eventually, capital large enough that your money can begin contributing meaningfully to your financial growth. For illustration, imagine $100,000 earning an average 8% return in a hypothetical year. That's $8,000. Compare that with $10,000 at the same hypothetical 8%. That's $800. The percentage is identical, but the capital is different. And that's the entire lesson. Capital creates leverage. But before you can benefit from that leverage, you have to build the capital. Don't think of your first $10,000 as the amount that makes you wealthy. Think of it as the amount that proves you can build wealth. So let's go back to the beginning. The first $10,000 is hard, but maybe not for the reason you thought. It's hard because you're building something from almost nothing. You're building capital. You're building discipline. You're building financial breathing room. You're building earning power. And you're building a completely different relationship with money. The 8 mistakes were: 1. Trying to invest your way to $10,000. 2. Letting your lifestyle rise with your income. 3. Having no emergency buffer. 4. Ignoring small money leaks. 5. Only cutting expenses instead of increasing income. 6. Using debt to look wealthy. 7. Waiting for the perfect time to start. 8. Treating $10,000 as the finish line. And if you're currently sitting at $500, $1,000, $3,000, or even $9,000, don't underestimate where you are. Because the number isn't just a number. It's evidence. Every dollar you save is proof that you're becoming better at controlling your money. And when you finally look at your account and see $10,000, the biggest change might not be in your bank account. It might be in you. Because now you know you can do it. And the next question becomes much more interesting. What happens when that $10,000 becomes $100,000? That's where wealth starts to behave very differently.